In a world of marble and gold, Taylor had a life most could only dream of. But behind the walls of her grand Victorian estate, wealth was a poor substitute for love. She stood alone in her gilded cage, watching the sunset, unaware of the shadows creeping in her perfect home. Those shadows had names: James, her charming but deceitful husband, and Zoe, the beautiful young maid who served her tea by day and stole her husband by night. In the dim corridors of the mansion, their illicit romance blossomed, whispers in the dark, stolen touches, a passion fueled by danger, and an undeniable toxic greed. Taylor dined in silence, her diamond ring feeling heavier with each passing day. James grew cold and distant. His eyes looked right past his wife, landing instead on the maid pouring his wine. Their fingers brushed, a silent, mocking language Taylor was never meant to understand. But secrets always leave a trail. A strand of dark brunette hair on a black suit jacket, a hushed laugh echoing from the kitchen, the undeniable, chilling feeling of being a stranger in your own home. One evening, standing behind a half-open mahogany door, Taylor's world shattered. She listened as the two people she trusted most plotted behind her back. It wasn't just a dirty affair, it was a conspiracy, handing over secret envelopes in the lush garden, crossing out her face on photographs. They didn't just want each other, they wanted everything she had. As Taylor wept alone in the flickering candlelight of her bathroom, the full, horrifying depth of their betrayal became clear. James and Zoe weren't just looking at a future together. They were looking at Taylor's $10 million life insurance policy. The fake tears, the sinister smiles in the mirror, the small, deadly vial of clear poison clutched tightly in James's hand. They thought she was naive. They thought she was weak. Watching them through the hidden security cameras, the last tear fell from Taylor's cheek. The heartbroken wife died in that dark room. In her place, a survivor was born. She wiped her eyes, hid a recording device in the parlor, and prepared for war. Oblivious to the storm gathering around them, James and Zoe danced in the empty ballroom. They paraded around the mansion, drunk on the illusion of their impending victory. Zoe already imagined herself as the wealthy lady of the manor. Taylor played her part perfectly. She played the fragile, sickening wife, bedridden and fading away. When James brought her the poisoned tea, his hands trembling with quiet guilt, she smiled. She pretended to drink, only to dispose of the venom the moment he looked away. While they drank champagne and celebrated her supposed demise in the hallways, Taylor became a phantom in her own home. Moving through the midnight shadows, she cracked open his hidden safe. Stacks of gambling debts, evidence of hidden mistresses. She documented every lie, every financial ruin he had tried to bury. The audacity of the maid knew no bounds. Zoe dared to stand in the master bedroom, greedily wearing Taylor's priceless diamond necklace. But the cold, piercing glare of the lady of the house froze the blood in Zoe's veins. For now, Taylor simply told her to leave. Let them think they were still in control. Driven by impatience and greed, the lovers moved to their final desperate plans. Down in the damp basement, whispers turned to murder. James crept into the garage, tampering with the brakes of her luxury car. But Taylor was always watching. She stood by the window, rain lashing against the glass, making the phone call to her lawyer that would seal their fate forever. Even as Zoe poured slippery oil on the grand marble staircase, waiting for her mistress to fall to her death, Taylor simply stopped. She stared at the deadly trap, looked up into the shadows where the treacherous maid was hiding, and gave a look that promised absolute destruction. The stage was set. Taylor wore red, the color of power, the color of retribution. She invited them to a lavish surprise dinner. As James and Zoe walked in, confused and anxious, they found a queen waiting on her throne. She poured the champagne with terrifying calmness. Then, she dropped the thick legal folder onto the table. It landed with a heavy, deafening thud. James opened it. The color drained completely from his face. Photographs of the affair, bank records, the poison, the tampered brakes, the undeniable proof of their crimes. Zoe panicked, turning to run, but massive security guards blocked the grand exit. There was no escape. On the large screen behind them, the hidden camera footage played their murderous confessions for the room to hear. The arrogant husband fell to his knees on the marble floor, weeping, begging for a mercy he never showed her. Zoe screamed silently, her mind snapping as the trap slammed shut. Slowly, mercilessly, Taylor poured a full glass of red wine over James's head. A glorious baptism of absolute defeat. Outside, the grand mansion was bathed in the red and blue flashing lights of justice. The police burst through the doors. Handcuffs clicked coldly against their wrists. James, ruined and pathetic. Zoe, her uniform torn, makeup running down her face in messy tears. Taylor stood on her grand porch, a triumphant smile gracing her lips as she watched them being hauled away into the dark night. Back inside, she threw the life insurance documents into the roaring fire. She signed the divorce papers with a stroke of pure liberation. Walking freely through her sunlit home, she tossed his expensive suits out the window into the mud. Looking in the mirror, she had never been more powerful. The bitter end had finally arrived for the traitors. James, once a sharp-dressed millionaire, now rotted in a cold gray prison cell, a miserable shadow of a man. Zoe traded her seductive uniforms for a dull orange jumpsuit, scrubbing filthy prison floors, her hands blistered and aged by hard labor. In his cell, James stared at the newspaper in pure agony. "The Queen of Real Estate," the headline read, accompanied by the radiant face of the woman he foolishly tried to break. Far away from those cold iron bars, Taylor was soaring, sipping champagne on her private jet, walking barefoot on the pristine white sands of a tropical paradise. And there, under the golden sun, she found real love, a handsome man whose heart was as genuine as his smile. The contrast was poetic. While James and Zoe withered away in prison, suffocating in their endless regrets, Taylor's life blossomed into a masterpiece. She returned to a mansion filled with light and laughter. Hosting grand charity galas, she raised her glass to the guests, a symbol of supreme resilience and grace. While James fought for survival in the terrifying prison yard, and Zoe wept at the tiny patch of sky out her barred window, Taylor stood peacefully in her garden. She touched a perfectly blooming red rose, her blue eyes reflecting a profound, untouchable peace. She walked gracefully toward the golden sunset, leaving the darkness behind forever. The heavy iron gates of the grand estate closed tightly. She had won, and her victory was absolute.
Standing alone by the floor-to-ceiling glass window of the penthouse, looking down at the glowing New York skyline at night, I had never felt so isolated. When the heavy oak front door slowly opened, Mark walked in. He looked exhausted, sluggishly dragging his feet across the hardwood and tossing his keys onto the side table. There was a time his eyes would search for mine first, but tonight, they darted away, avoiding eye contact completely. A forced, nervous smile, a stiff, hollow embrace. The physical distance between our bodies felt vast, even with his arm around my waist. And then, the moment he pulled away, I smelled it. That scent. A strange, sweet perfume that sharply filled my senses, making my eyebrows furrow in sudden confusion and shock. I held the collar to my face and inhaled deeply, my chest heaving as the scent confirmed my worst fears. But what truly shattered my world wasn't the perfume. It was a single, long, dark brunette hair resting delicately on the dark fabric, not my blonde hair. My legs gave out. I slowly sank onto my knees on the luxury rug. Right then, his smartphone suddenly lit up on the marble table next to his keys. The cold glow of the screen felt like a cruel invitation. With tear-stained cheeks, my crushing sadness instantly boiled into intense anger. My fingers trembled as I grabbed the phone and aggressively swiped up on the screen. The messages stared back at me. Every word, a knife straight to my chest. The ultimate betrayal had been confirmed. A single tear fell as my jaw clenched in absolute fury. He walked back into the brightly lit hallway, wiping his hands with a towel, and stopped dead in his tracks. He saw me holding his phone. Without a word, I furiously threw it, hitting him square in the chest before it clattered to the floor. And me? I just stood there perfectly still, arms crossed. I stared at him with cold, dead eyes. And then I slowly nodded. The next morning was a ridiculous routine. He wore a fresh navy blue suit, kissed me lightly on the forehead, grabbed his briefcase, and left. A perfect husband, a perfect illusion. But the moment he was gone, I changed. A stylish black trench coat, large, dark designer sunglasses to hide my determined and dangerous eyes. Across the street, Mark's black luxury SUV pulled up to a high-end classic hotel. Hidden behind a large marble pillar inside the grand lobby, I adjusted my glasses. I hit the red record button on my phone as he nervously slid his credit card across the reception desk. I followed him toward the exclusive, dimly lit lounge bar, and there she was. Chloe, a young woman in a seductive red silk dress, sipping a martini, waiting expectantly. Mark walked quickly to her, grabbed her waist passionately, and leaned in for a deep kiss. My hand gripped the edge of a wooden wall partition so tightly my knuckles turned completely white. I slowly lowered my dark sunglasses down the bridge of my nose, letting my eyes burn with absolute rage and disgust. I sat alone at a small, dark table, mostly hidden in the shadows, watching them intently over my menu. I watched them laugh intimately at their private corner booth. I watched her hand gently and seductively trace his jawline. I watched his hand aggressively rest on her bare thigh, creeping slowly upwards along the red silk. I watched her toss her short brunette hair and playfully bite her lower lip. I had seen enough. My face hardened into stone. I elegantly raised 2 fingers to signal a passing waiter. A waiter placed 2 full glasses of dark red wine on my table. I smoothly picked up 1 glass in each hand. I gracefully stood up from my table, stepping out of the shadows. Walking purposefully across the lounge floor in slow motion, my black trench coat flowing beautifully, I moved like a predator toward their booth. I suddenly towered over them. Mark looked up, his smile instantly freezing into pure horror. Chloe looked up, extremely confused and slightly annoyed, having no idea who I was. She was about to find out. Without hesitating, I calmly and smoothly tipped the first glass, pouring the red wine directly over Mark's head. It splashed over his hair and face. Instantly, I turned and smoothly poured the second glass directly onto Chloe's chest, ruining the seductive red silk dress. They gasped and jumped up from the booth in absolute shock, dripping with dark red wine, their chairs scraping violently. Mark stood there humiliated, dark red wine dripping down his nose and chin, staining his white shirt. Chloe frantically used a napkin to rapidly try and wipe the stain off her ruined dress, her makeup slightly smudged. I tilted my head slightly and flashed a chilling, victorious, and utterly condescending smile. With my manicured fingers, I gripped the large diamond wedding ring on my left hand and smoothly pulled it off. I dropped it into Mark's empty champagne glass on the table. The loud, resonant clink of metal hitting crystal glass echoed. Mark frantically reached out to grab my arm, mouthing words of apology. I ruthlessly swatted his hand away with a violent motion. We were done. I turned my back and walked away in slow motion, adjusting my coat with supreme confidence. The entire luxury lounge bar was completely silent. Every single wealthy patron was staring directly at Mark and Chloe, standing there covered in wine in a humiliating atmosphere. I didn't look back. Not even when Chloe furiously slapped Mark hard across the face, threw her napkin at him, and stormed away. I gracefully stepped into the back seat of a classic yellow New York taxi cab and closed the door. Taking off my sunglasses, I leaned my head back against the seat and took a long, deep, relieving breath. The neon city lights passed over my face. The yellow taxi drove away down the busy, vibrant avenue, disappearing into the traffic. A genuine, beautiful, and peaceful smile finally broke across my face. The pain was gone, replaced by absolute freedom,